our friend Steve Beuerlein. Steve, good morning.
Good morning, D.A. What's happening, man?
Not much. I appreciate you very much joining us this morning. Let's start with Lamar Jackson. When you see him pull off the spin move from a quarterback position, just how crazy is that?
Well, you run out of words to describe what this guy continues to do. I think that when you see a play like that, and you combine it with the fact that he also, at one point I think he was 12 of 12 with two. You start to realize why these coaches are all scratching their heads. When he said, you look at this guy on film, but you have no idea how fast and how talented he really is. Athlete to everybody else out there in the field, and that move as a quarterback, MVP type of a season for this kid.
Let's talk about the Cowboys last night. All so well through the air, and then they get down inside the red zone, and they force it to Zeke. He gets stopped short twice. Why do you think the Cowboys were so insistent on trying to run the football there when the pass had been?
I don't know. I mean, this is a Cowboys team that question where the thought coming from. And Jason Garrett is a very good friend of mine. He's a bright, young, up-and-coming kind of offensive coordinator, but Zeke Elliott, I guess his defense would be, yeah, he's not had a great game, but he is your best player, your best football player. You're paying him to be that guy. You got to give him a chance to get the ball into pay him. Maybe it shows a little bit of a lack of confidence to make a play.
Steve Beuerlein joins us this morning on the show. On that games late in the season, beat good teams, perhaps win playoff games, because that this was a situation that he never succeeds in.
Well, it still is the knock on Kirk Cousins, and I've been one of the most adamant people, kind of expressing that over the last few years. But every one of these wins that he gets, you have to give him credit. You have to appreciate the fact that he is starting to show that he can do it on a fairly consistent basis, at least over the last 6 weeks or whatever it's been. So I give him credit for that, and I do believe he's a talented football player and can make all the throws and can be very explosive. But again, it has to be shown consistently over time. He's got a very good football team around him. Arguably the guy who's playing best at the running back position in the NFL right now. Far superior to Ezekiel Elliott yesterday. They're finding ways to get Dalvin Cook the ball in the passing game. They're realizing that they've got to just create ways to let this guy get the ball in space because he is special, and they're doing a great job of that. And, that was without Adam Thielen on the field last night as well. So I think Kirk Cousins is understanding that he's got a great football team around him. His job at this point is to, he's got to make the plays that are there, but he can't make the bonehead plays, the ones that have cost teams ball games down the stretch that he's kind of been known to do in the past. And, he's got a team that really is playing with some confidence now, and the coaches have freed up the reins a little bit, as opposed to what they were doing, how they were trying to control him earlier in the season. And that's because he's earned their trust and he's earned their confidence. Let's see if he can keep it together. But last night, that was definitely a big win for him, and I think he deserves the credit for that.
You were quarterback of the Carolina Panthers for 5 seasons, and Cam Newton's been an MVP player at quarterback for the Panthers as well. But Kyle Allen stepped into a tough situation this year. The offenses seemed to work better. Yesterday at Lambeau Field, when they had to get a clutch drive late in the game in the snow, he drove them down the field and made all of the throws. Do you think it's time for the Panthers to go into next season and know Allen's our guy? It's the end of Cam in Carolina.
Well, that is a loaded question, as you know. That's why you asked it, and it's one that the Marty Herney and the brass for the Panthers have got a tough decision to make, because I don't know if you really can turn the reins over to this kid, Kyle Allen, based on just what you've seen in this short a period of time. Let's see what he does down the stretch. We know Cam Newton's not going to be a factor the rest of this year. Let's see if Kyle Allen can continue to give his team a chance to win and make the plays that a quarterback has to make in the NFL over the last 6 weeks of the season. He's proven he can play a very consistent quality quarterback. Norv Turner he's a perfect type of quarterback for Norv Turner. He is a student. He's a kid that will go through his progressions and get the ball to the right guys, and he's accurate. He can make all the throws. But let's evaluate him based on what he does the rest of this season, and then you're going to have to put some hard thought to it through the off season. I do believe from a organizational standpoint, the tough decision about whether to let Cam Newton go or not, I think you have to strongly consider it. And I would kind of lean that way because he does have value right now. You're still going to get a lot for Cam Newton, I believe, and there's a lot of question marks about him, whether he can be your guy, whether he is going to be a fit in Norv Turner's system, whether he can be the consistent type of a passing pocket passer that they want and that they need in that type of a system. So it's going to be a tough situation for him, or a tough decision. But I think the time is to move on from Cam Newton. The question is whether or not Kyle Allen is the guy that you're going to build around as you go forward.
Okay, interesting. So you do think, okay, Cam probably done in Carolina, that's the right move, but you're not completely sold on Kyle Allen yet. If he has a strong final 6 weeks of the season, would you be sold on that, or would you think the Panthers should bring in somebody else to compete against him in the offseason?
Well, I think the call would be, if he plays consistently down the stretch, I think the call would be, all right, let's give this kid a chance. We're going to have a lot of money freed up to bring in some great quality players around him. Let's bring in a solid, established backup quarterback that's won football games in the past. There's going to be several of those guys out there, and let's if he can't handle it as we get into next year, we haven't invested a lot of money into the quarterback position yet. Let's go out and find that next quarterback after that point. But I think if he plays well down the stretch, he's earned the right and the confidence of his teammates to have that opportunity going into next year. But you've got to secure yourself against the possibility of maybe him falling flat on his face in that next year, with the expectations and the opportunity to be the starting quarterback. Not everybody can handle that, and that's going to be a question that they'll have to address. But I think that's the way I'd probably go about doing it.
Finally, when you look at tonight's game, the Niners and the Seahawks, do you consider the Niners the best team in the NFC, in the NFL, or neither one of those?
I think you gotta consider them probably. I definitely would say they're the best team in the NFC at this point, based on what they've done to this point. And I would say I would have a very difficult time putting anybody ahead of them in the AFC. So I would say right now they're the best team in the NFL. Yeah, I would have a hard time supporting an argument. But that doesn't mean, in my opinion, that they're as you know, that they're going to have a clean run to the Super Bowl. They're playing with a lot of confidence. They're going to have some big games down the stretch. We're going to see if they're able to step up in those situations under the big microscope, with all the spotlight, all the focus on them. I still think Green Bay can challenge them in the NFC. I think on the right day, the teams like Minnesota and Dallas can match up and play well against them. But I do think they've earned the right to be regarded as the best team in the NFC without a doubt, and probably in the NFL.
Steve Beuerlein joining us from NFL CBS coverage, 17-year NFL quarterback. You can follow him at Steve Beuerlein. You see him on NFL Monday QB on the CBS Sports Network as well. Steve, it is always awesome to catch up, my man. Thanks so much for doing it.
All right, D.A., you got it, buddy. We'll catch you later.
Okay, sounds good. Steve Beuerlein joining us this morning here on the show.